today I want to dig further into that with how can you develop a strategy to prevent it? Kind of a good business kind of meeting. And I want to give you the tools in the event that you want to do this with your team. Sit them all down and have a strategy meeting, if you will. I want to kind of give you an outline as to how to do it. And I find these to be really, really helpful because my experience is oftentimes things that as the owners we can't see, the team can. And if we're not tapping into their knowledge, experience, and perspective, we're missing the boat in many, many, many cases. So in the business world, MBA school, they call this a SWOT analysis, and I'm not going to make it anywhere near that formal, but rather I want to just give you some ideas of some questions you could ask and brainstorm around on your team that might be eye-opening to you. One of the first questions that's always interesting is to look at how were goals set in the past. Were they just pulled out of the random air? Was there calculation behind them? Was there thought involved? And not that there's a right or wrong answer necessarily, but if you actually put thought and effort into it as opposed to, I don't know, here's this one. It's amazing how they actually tend to come true. Secondarily to that is you're obviously going to put some behaviors in place behind those goals. Did those behaviors encourage, or were they encouraging or discouraging to the team? So as an example, one of the things I'm always suggesting is, let's assume for the sake of illustration that you do Invisalign or ortho or whatever the case is. And that's a nice profit center in your business. You could set a goal that we want to do X amount of starts on one of those procedures. But now if we want to encourage it even further, perhaps for a month or 2 months, we say, hey, I tell you what, let's put a $5 bonus to whoever sells it, or 10, or again, random example, but put some incentive behind it to drive even more focus behind it. Because often what happens is we bring focus on something like that is it just feels like more work to the team. Too often we're like, hey, we're going to start doing this from now on every single day, blah, 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 whatever the case is. And it feels like work and effort, and it becomes discouraging rather than encouraging, and it doesn't bring about positive change. So as you're sitting here looking at some of these metrics that are the key ones for you that you want to see change because they'll have impact on the overall business goals, the question becomes is the behavior we've set in place encouraging or is it discouraging? And what can we do to change that? Some other questions that I think I found really helpful. What efforts in the past have been made to change the organization? And what happened? Did they work? Did they not work? Where was the roadblock that took place in those instances that held back the process? Who was instrumental in making those things happen and take place? Who was instrumental in shaping the movement in the organization? And were they shaping it in the right way, pushing it forward, or were they holding it back? And maybe we need to sit down and have a talk with that person. And then looking at kind of vision and strategy, do you have a vision for your practice? Do you have a motto? And not that we need to be formal about that stuff, but I think if the team is really excited about what it is we're doing and they can articulate what it is that we're doing, it becomes easier to rally behind it. Otherwise, it might just be a job. And we don't want to have a team that feels like coming to work is just a job. So what can we do to inspire the team? Can we have something that gets people fired up about doing something different? Maybe sit down, come up with a little bit of a mission statement, and not one that you just write and hide, but one that you proudly display so your patients see it, your team sees it, you revisit it on occasion, because it should be something that can excite us and get us moving forward every single day. So how can you stand out from the rest in your town? And I'm not suggesting you see patients at 2 in the morning necessarily. If you are in Timbuktu and farm country, there's not going to be that capability. But what can you do to help that work for your practice? Maybe it's the fact that you're easily accessible, you're on time. I mean, I think you could build a whole practice just by being on time and marketing that. Because there are so many people that don't want to take time off that it's an amazing opportunity to stand out from all the rest. And it's all you need to do. I want to close with a quick video today And the video is kind of like this aha, duh, obvious sort of thing. And the reason why I want to do it is because when we start talking about strategy, too often we overcomplicate things. It's got to be some complex, over-the-top, crazy strategy, blah, 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 in order for it to work. No, it doesn't always have to be. Sometimes the most obvious and best answer is the most obvious. And sometimes it's the most effective. And all we have to do is be able to back up and see it and go, hey, why wouldn't that work? What if you could have the practice of your dreams? What's holding you back? Imagine a life where you have everything you ever wanted.